President of Natural Capitalism Solutions. We're an entrepreneurial nonprofit that works with companies, communities, countries on ways to implement sustainability profitably. Here are a few of our clients. As you can see, we've worked for a number of companies, large and small, for governments, for universities. We're here today to talk about employee engagement. I'll start with the business case for employee engagement, and indeed there is a very strong business case. Engaged employees drive your profitability. They are easier to attract, retain, and when you have them, they're more productive. They help you innovate, and without a doubt, they're your best salespeople. Engaged organizations have almost 4 times the earnings per share growth rate compared to organizations where the workforce is not employed. Gallup has found that it's as much as 16% higher profitability, 18% higher productivity, higher customer loyalty, lower turnover, accidents, and absenteeism. These are significant numbers. Companies spend a lot of money trying to drive higher productivity of their workforce. Engage them. When an employee is not engaged, you risk losing them. This has a significant cost to an organization to replace them and train their replacement. And Americans now feel worse about their jobs than at any time since Gallup has been doing these polls. Gallup reckons that this costs our country about $300 billion a year in lost productivity. What engages people? The single most important thing is that they feel that their work has meaning. This is particularly important for the young people. The millennials want to feel that they're engaged, and what makes them feel most engaged is working for a company where they believe the company cares about the environment. Fortune found that the companies that can legitimately speak to their environmental credentials have an edge in attracting the best talent. And the companies that are doing this are finding that engaging their workforce in their corporate commitment to behaving more sustainably is one of the best ways of engaging the employees and drives profitability. So no surprise, sustainability executives are planning to invest significantly more in employee engagement, and I suspect this is why all of you are on this webinar. The trouble is, most companies engage with sustainability as a set of one-off projects. They plant a tree, they set up a recycling program. We're finding what really engages a workforce is where a company has a company-wide commitment to sustainability and where it engages the workforce in delivering on this commitment. A number of companies have undertaken very laudable programs to help their workers become healthier, to stop smoking, exercise more, to pick some personal project that they're going to engage in as their effort toward sustainability. There's nothing wrong with this, but it isn't the best way we've found for a company to achieve the much higher increase in productivity, all of the benefits of an engaged workforce, which comes when the employees feel that they are helping the company implement its sustainability goals. Where do you start? Frontline employees are, we think, the best place to start. Now, obviously, you can't do everything all at once. Your frontline employees are the ones who see where in the company you can make improvements and often don't feel that anybody cares what they think. But they communicate with your customers. They're thus your best sales force, whether they're tagged as salespeople or not. And they are the ones who, if you successfully engage them in your company's commitment to sustainability are in the position to do you the most good. So let me ask you a question. Take a couple of seconds here, think about it, and give us your answer. And by the way, if as we run through this webinar, you have questions, please feel free to pose them. You can write them in the dialog box, and we will get to them as we go along or at the end of the presentation. I'm now going to turn the program over to Natural Capitalism's CEO, Toby Russell, to walk you through the details of how you build a successful program. Toby?
Thank you, Hunter. Hunter just talked to the value of engaging frontline employees, and we definitely want to keep on bringing the focus back there as we go through this webinar. And one of the questions that gets posed is how do you do this? How do you build effective engagement across broad geographical regions? The answer can be drawn from 6 principles, we believe. The first is that an effective engagement strategy should be relevant. It really needs to establish the business case for your organization. Employees need to understand that this isn't a management trend that's going to go away in a few months. They really need to understand there's a large commitment from every level of the organization. Secondly, you need to reach the audience where they are at. So it needs to be accessible, and the learning needs to be in different mediums. All throughout the process, it's important to explain how your products and services differentiate from your competitors. If your products or services have a sustainable attribute, educating around those and how they benefit your product and make you a better company to be is something that's very important to keep coming back to. One of the issues that most sustainable communication faces is that the people who tend to create it come from either an environmental or social stewardship standpoint. It's really important to understand your audience as you are creating any kind of sustainable communication, whether that's internal or external facing. And finally, it's vital to make sure that any engagement programs you're running are incentivized. I want to talk through a few examples before we get to our case studies. This example is a company that we worked with in a multi-series workshop in San Leandro. It's a company called Mi Rancho. Joe Santana came to the sustainability workshop that we were running not because he was interested in the environmental side of sustainability. He wanted to distribute to Walmart, and so he wanted to make sure he understood how Walmart's scorecard affected him. By participating in the program, Joe found all sorts of savings that his organization could implement. For example, this one here, he saved $32,000 per year on a simple lighting retrofit that they did. And Mi Rancho bases all their sustainability around 2 factors, and none of them are green. The first is dollars saved, and the second is CO2 reduction, because CO2 reduction is a question that Walmart asks. And so they come at it from a business perspective. Understanding what your organization's perspective is vital when rolling out a program. And since then, Joe has empowered and incentivized his team to implement and find sustainability initiatives. Burt's Bees builds buy-in by taking it straight to the grand level. One of the things that they do in order to raise awareness around waste is take all of their waste streams and empty them on the company's factory floor and have the employees go around, dig through it, and think of innovative ways that they can either reduce the amount of waste they're doing, redesign their processes to be more effective. And it's hugely effective. In the first year, they cut their waste by 50%, saving $25,000. And there are a few companies who get it, who are weaving sustainability into the fabric of their business through innovative compensation. Intel is one. They've been linking every employee's bonuses since 2008 to sustainability and seen some great results. They feel there's a direct correlation between reducing their costs and engaging their employees. And they're not the only ones. Stonyfield challenged its employees to save energy at their company's facilities, and their bonuses were tied to those savings. That company reached its goal well ahead of time and was able to actually reduce their energy use by 22%. I'm going to hand the webinar across to Claudia Capitini, but also remind you all at this point that we will be putting a chunk of time aside at the end because we want to make sure that we can address any issues you have or any questions you have. So if you do have questions for Hunter, myself, or Claudia as you go through, feel free to post them in the questions field on the panel to your right. Claudia is the sustainability maven at EcoProducts, and we worked with her creating a innovative sales training platform, and she's going to speak to that now. Claudia?
Thanks, Toby. Yeah, so hello everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. I wanted to give you a little bit of background in this case study. First of all, about EcoProducts. EcoProducts is a small food service company, and we're located in Boulder, Colorado. Food service is an industry that makes cups and plates, forks, knives, spoons, napkins, etc., that are sort of the things that you eat your food on. So we're not really food, and we're not quite events. We're sort of in between. We work with a number of industries, but we are in themselves our own. And food service as an industry is notorious for having a lot of complicated products. There are paper plates, there are plastic plates, there are paper cups, there are recyclable and compostable items. We have a very complicated set of products. And at EcoProducts, as you would guess by our name, we're a company that has a more environmentally forward message to our products as well as better materials. Toby's pulling up our website right now, and you can see right on the first page there our branding says this is not a cup, even though it clearly is a cup. And that's because EcoProducts is positioning itself as a change agent in the market. That cup, as we see it, is an opportunity to change the food service industry from one that is based in fossil fuels to one that can be more environmentally responsible, better sourced renewable materials that are compostable or recyclable. And if you have to have something that you're going to throw away after you use once, you should make the best choice for the planet. So as such, we have a complicated offering. We're a small company, and we have a national distribution system that we have to work with. This makes sustainability and employee engagement very important for us because our billboards are our sales reps. They're all over the country trying to convince people that there is a difference between a plastic cup and a paper cup, and to understand what a compostable cup versus a recyclable cup might be. And because of this, it's incredibly complicated and time-intensive to educate our sales force and then in turn have them educate people around the environmental attributes of thousands of different products out there. So we had the good fortune of working with Natural Capitalism to build what you're seeing right now, which is an interactive learning module system where we can have our sales reps, our distributors, our brokers go online and have intensive training around not only the brand but also the product attributes. And as Toby alluded to earlier in the key pieces of employee engagement, a lot of this is information-based, sort of basic onboarding process for your sales team, but a lot of it is connecting the sustainability aspects of the products in a nice, concise way that not only do they build buy-in for why EcoProducts is a preferred brand, why you should want to work here, but also it gives our sales reps the ability to be those change agents in the market that we really want to be. What you're looking at right now is the interface that we have available for our reps and key brokers, distributors, whomever. And you can go through this as a training program and learn all about not only where these products come from, which is often very eye-opening to a lot of people, and you can go through a number of modules around waste, communicating sustainability to different audiences, life cycle assessment, recycling, composting, etc. And we have quite a library of them. And that's because, as I mentioned, we have a lot of different products that have a lot of different stories. But also, as many of you may be aware, the more time you spend in the sustainability world, the more that this story really builds and the interconnections really build. And you can see things like certifications and legislation becoming very important, not only selling attributes, but also ways to engage your employees, ways to have people in different markets really connect to larger environmental issues, and also have, you know, hopefully some extra effects of having people actually call up their recycler, call up their legislator, and act on their own, which is always inspiring. So we've found that these modules are an excellent way to train our sales force to be the educators. We work with a lot of distributors, people who are not necessarily under our control, and this is one of the most extensive libraries in our industry that we have of sustainability attributes around our products. We're super excited about it. We also have taken this to another step. We have metriced all of these different modules so that we can track who uses them, what they have, or how people are going through them, and what information they're getting out of them. As you can see here, we have a quiz feature, and it's a very simple quiz, largely around, you know, assimilating the information in the module. But we can track how people do with the quiz, how many times they click around, all of these kind of little metrics that are very interesting to see, not only how our reps do, of course, but how other people who are less connected to the product do. This helps us build better resources, but it also shows us where some of the bigger gaps are. Do people know the difference between recyclable products and recycled content products, for example? Very subtle, but it's a huge piece of information for our entire engagement program and our entire marketing program here. We then use these quizzes and the different modules here in different ways internally. We incentivize employees to complete the modules. We can compel, of course, our internal employees to do that, but we have a lot of fun incentive programs for people that we maybe have less control over, or if people want to do more above and beyond. We have incentives in place where people not only have their bonuses connected to this information, but that they have you know, incentives to share this information with more of their own networks. And we, because we're tracking all of it, can really see how people are progressing through this information and how it's being disseminated from them. So this tool has been really valuable for us. We feel that it is definitely making eco-products one of the bigger educators in the food service market. It also is really helping us connect our sales reps to the sustainability players out there in the market. These are people that can bring us success stories, people that can leverage our successes in new and creative ways. So it is definitely connected to building market share, but also it's communicating a very complicated sustainability story to people that may not have ever heard it before and may not have ever had to make a purchasing choice because of it. I'll turn it back over to you, Toby, and I'm delighted to take questions at the end. Oh, sorry. We're going to keep going with this. I see here that what you're looking at right now is sort of an outline of our full module program. So this is an extensive library of different modules, we call them. These are different opportunities, different buckets that we've put sustainability information into. We have everything from the business case to more detailed sustainability pieces. So this is a very, this is a considerable investment for us, and we're really happy with this product, and would recommend it to many other companies looking to achieve the same kind of success for complicated sustainability stories like ours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claudia. As Claudia mentioned, she is going to be hanging around, as is Hunter, and they'll both be available to answer any questions you might have at the end of the webinar. I want to take a moment and go into a different example that we have. It's a different story. We've worked with Aveda, who have salons across the country. We've talked a lot about the frontline employees affecting and representing our brands. Buildings also do the same, and so how do we give frontline employees, how do we empower them to actually make their buildings more sustainable? Aveda approached us. Aveda is a company that has a very strong brand. It's got products are all made of natural content. They do a lot of work around sourcing. It's a very green product, but they really struggle a little more supporting their networks. And they have a lot of networks. Aveda has nearly 7,000 salons and spas worldwide. Some are owned, some are franchises. They have a different amount of control in the different areas. So we worked with Aveda to create an interactive tool that essentially allowed the corporate office to educate the salon owners in how to make their space more efficient. And so it really empowered and worked with the people who are in the front lines in the stores, because that, after all, is the place where customers go in. If they go into a store that has this is supposed to be a green company and they see inefficient bulbs and such like, it hits them with all sorts of ironies and they question the very value propositions of the company. Here you can see the tool is designed with salon owners in mind. It has very graphical navigation so that a salon owner can go through specific rooms and drill down to measures and learn about them. And it's really important at every point to convey the benefits. Here we look at the financial benefits, the environmental benefits, but more importantly, we really try and frame it around Aveda's value proposition, which is all around customer service. In addition to describing what each of these measures are, we create a whole bunch of implementation instructions and tools that help walk the users through how they would go about making their space more efficient. Here is a questionnaire for contractors that might be installing green roofs with questions and answers that you could expect, right down to liability issues. To give you an idea of the depth of this work, here's a list of all the actions and initiatives that we found by visiting over 20 salons and actually determining which measures that an Aveda salon could take that would make them more efficient. They're in these different buckets here. And water, for example, is a very big story for Aveda. It's how all hair treatment takes place. There's a very close synergy between how people view Aveda and view water. So telling that story is really important. Here you can see another measure. It follows exactly the same structure. It talks about what it is, where you can implement that, and then it has step-by-step instructions about how you go about doing that. And again, there's more resources, whether those be downloadable signage or external resources like this that help you understand more about issues that are relevant in your region. There, at any point, the user going through this tool can choose whether they want to go back to the graphical map navigation or to the measures themselves and drill down. And we really try and make sure that this is languaged correctly for the audience. Sustainability tends to have a lot of buzzwords. I think sustainable consultants like to create words in order to keep themselves employed. And so including things like a glossary for terms that aren't in day-to-day language, as well as making sure that for an audience that isn't tech-savvy, that there are instructions that would help them go through and say, understand exactly what settings they should have on their computer in order to have it more efficient. This is a very 1,000-foot view of this offering, but it is definitely a different offering than the one that Claudia was talking about, which was addressing Salesforce. This really looked at how do you empower employees in the front line, making their spaces more efficient. And we could have gone into a lot of detail around how you put audits in place and what you track and such like, but I want to make sure that we leave enough time to answer any questions you have. So at this point, we're going to open it up to questions. Feel free to add questions in the right panel. The first question I have, and I just was mentioning that, so it's ironic that this should sit in front of me. What sort of metrics do you use to measure success? I think this is the million-dollar question when it comes to employee engagement at the moment. Claudia's tool, EcoProducts tool, is all around engaging and educating a sales force. So ideally, while she's also tracking the metrics around how successful people are at answering the various quizzes and where their knowledge gaps and such like, if you're creating a sales tool, it would be important to map that to sales figures wherever possible so that you can see the correlation between the two. In the Aveda style tool, the building style tool, it would make sense to map any of the actions to efficiency savings. So whether that's water bills or energy bills, tracking that is something that we're working with Aveda at the moment in order to make sure that they are seeing the successes that come from this initiative. Here is a relevant question in that it says, my organization already has an LMS but is interested in sustainability content. Is that possible? We as an organization tend to work on multiple levels in terms of learning. While we've got the capacity to build a complete platform that can track, we also are fundamentally educators. Hunter has founded several schools and has taught at hundreds. And so creating content around education is something that we just love to do. It's in our DNA. So whether we are creating the whole tool or just helping supporting in the sustainability content, another tool, then that's something we can do also. Hunter's going to answer a question that's just being posed.
Thanks, Toby. We were asked, how do you recommend dealing with dissenters or employees that are not engaged? It's a very good question. As we all know, somebody who is a wet blanket can go a long way to spoil any good program. We've found often that people that are dragging their heels are, and indeed cynics in general, are disillusioned romantics. They want to be inspired. They feel they'll be disappointed, and so they wall themselves off with this aura of cynicism. Asking them for their opinion, asking them how would they help, involving them in conversation that talks to their value set, can frequently get them expressing what it is that they think isn't right. And once they, even if what they're doing is criticizing, once they engage, then they start to take some ownership over the program that's underway and are much more likely to become one of your biggest supporters. We frequently find that the people that have been posing all of the problems want to be convinced, but they need to be spoken to in their language. I'm in the process of writing a paper now for Sustainable Brands on how do we message sustainability. And if you find someone, for example, that is what we might call a climate skeptic, a climate denier, arguing the science to them is not likely to be very effective. But engaging them in conversation, understanding what it is that they value. Is it American independence? Is it hometown values? Is it hunting and fishing? and then speaking to them on those terms, how it is that your program is going to enhance what it is that they value, tends to get them excited. And when people argue with me about climate science, I say, look, I'm not talking about climate science. I'm talking about how to enhance the profitability of your company. Let's work on that. We can argue the science in the bar later.
Thank you, Hunter. If you have any additional questions for Hunter and Claudia, feel free to pose them. Also, we're going to put up another poll for you all, and so you can answer that as I answer the next few questions. The next question is based around social media and taking employee engagement to the 2.0 level. We found that it's really important to meet your employees where you're at, and that doesn't matter. So with the Aveda solution, we made sure that that was viewable on mobile applications, because most salon owners have smartphones, they have iPads. That is how they wanted to access it. They didn't want a desktop option. Similarly, we've worked with other clients who already have an internal social media platform, and they're really looking to create additional content that they can feed into that in order to drive their employees' imagination. Whatever your employees' comfort level is, it's really important to meet them where they're at and integrate whatever sustainability initiatives you have into existing systems. And unless I hear otherwise, the final question that we have is employee engagement the focus of your organization, or is there anything else that you do? Working with Hunter is definitely a positive challenge, in that we really need to meet her vision. So we do a lot of work. So we work doing strategic consulting with organizations. We do work helping organizations do communication strategies and such like. We do a lot of executive education. Right now we're running a program at DU, and we do work teaching MBA programs and curriculum design. We, being a nonprofit, really want to be at the cutting edge of what sustainability is. While we are capable of doing all sorts of reporting and such like, we want to make sure that we are doing the work that no one else is doing, and we're supporting companies that really have a genuine interest in implementing sustainability. I think, if I'm looking at my little panel here, that that's the final question that we have. And we actually flew through this far quicker than we thought, but if the weather's anything like it is here in Colorado with you, then I'm sure you're not going to be upset getting away 15 minutes early. So we're going to round things up, but if you do have any questions or have an interest in this field, we're just happy to talk and share and make sure that employee engagement around sustainability is done effectively across the board. We will also make the presentation available if you would like to share it with anyone else as well. So we will feel free to get in contact with us if you'd like to receive that. So thank you all very much for your time. Claudia and Hunter, thank you very much for speaking. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Thank you.